Okay, anybody know anyone like Grace? Come on, raise your hand if you know somebody like Grace. All right, seems like every family has at least one person like that, or you have a very big friendship circle. There's one person like. How many of you are actually sitting next to someone like Grace? Just lift your hand up high for us all to see. You know, I mean, people like that they're just around. Okay, they're just everywhere. You know, something has happened in the past. Relational tension, misunderstanding, they've been hurt, they've been disappointed, and somehow they just kind of have written people off in life. They just sort of said goodbye to the relationship, and they're relationally cynical, and they're a little bit bitter, and they always have this story to tell of why it is that they live at odds with someone else. And honestly, when you hear their story, don't you kind of want to say the same kind of things that I want to say when I hear those stories? What I want to say is, for crying out loud, can't you move on? Can't you forgive and forget? Can't you get past it? Can't you just take your life to a better place? I mean, really, come on. Can't you get past it? And yet for all of the world, they can't seem to get over whatever has hurt them, whatever has disappointed them, whatever has frustrated them in the lives of another person. It's almost like there's something missing that keeps them from being able to overcome problems and keep a connection with another person. Even when it's so incredibly obvious that it would be in their best interest to do so, the other person's best interest to do so, not to mention the fact that their life would be so much happier if they could just find a way to work it out, find a way to get along, find a way to overcome, find a way to resolve the issue. But it's like something's missing, and they can't. It's the same thing that's missing when your children are arguing in the back seat of the car on a trip somewhere. Any of your kids ever do that? I mean, just arguing in the back seat. I mean, Sandy and I, we'd be going somewhere when all our kids were really young, and the next thing you know, a fight is broken out in the back, and it's all because somebody went over the line. You know, it's like there are designated lines in the back seat of the car, and if somebody touches the line, it's like, Mom, Dad, they're in my space, get over! She touched me! And these fights erupt. And you know, you want to climb back there and fix it. But you know, for all the world you're going, come on, this is so minor. Can't you just work it out? But they can't. Because something's missing. You ever heard married people argue? Like maybe your next door neighbors? Certainly not you. And you know, you listen to married people argue, and you ever been in a restaurant and the couple next to you is arguing? And of course they're trying to do it so that nobody hears, but the reality is with about a 30 square foot, circumference, everybody is listening. You know, it's kind of like conversation goes quiet, people going to lean back like, oh, what's going on back there? And you're listening to what they're arguing about. And honestly, don't you go, come on, people. You're adults. Can't you figure out a way to work that out? Can't you resolve the issue? Can't you just forgive or get over the resentment or move on? You're obviously just mucking up your life and your relationship and your sort of. Can't you just get over it? But they can't. It's like something's missing. You look around in our world today, and you can look at places like the Middle East, and you see this nation upset at that nation because of things that were done generations, centuries ago. And you want to say, seriously, wouldn't it be in your own best interest if some of you just got together in a room and worked it out? Stop killing each other. It's not in anybody's best interest, but they can't. It's like something's missing. And whatever that thing is that's missing, that helps people get over the hurts and irritations and frustrations and disappointments, to be able to really connect with others, whatever it is, it causes trouble everywhere. And of course, we see it so clearly in other people, but we can't see it in whom? Ourselves. Because when it comes to me, oh man, I've got a reason that I have an axe to grind. I have a reason why I'm bearing a grudge. I have a reason why I am not speaking, or I don't treat that person well, or whatever. Because look at it. If you knew the list I have, you'd hate that person too. And of course, other people are looking at us, just like we look at our kids in the back seat and go, seriously? You're so unhappy. You're sacrificing things that actually matter most. Can't you find a way to work it out? Move on, get over it. But we can't because something's missing. Now you'd think if that thing was missing out there in the world, that surely you could come to church and you'd find it, right? Because surely it's there. And yet you go into many, a lot of churches, and it's like, it's not there either. I grew up as a part of a denomination, and we were against everything. In fact, the denomination that I grew up in, we had a title for ourselves, a moniker that we wore with pride. You know what we called ourselves? We were militant fundamentalists. Think about that term today. It's like militant fundamental. Oh, terrorists, bombs, people dying. But we wore that like a badge of honor. We were militant fundamental. The word militant means warlike. And we were at war. We were against everything. You know, I'm thinking back to those days, like in the 70s and early 80s. We were against the ERA. The Equal Rights Amendment. Because who knows what would happen in this country if women had equal rights? We were against it. And we were against, we were against abortion, and we were against homosexuality, and we were against racially mixed marriages, and I would hear messages trying to make the Bible show that somehow that was out of whack. I'm looking back and going, dude, what were we smoking? Seriously. But we were against smoking, so it could have been. And we were against drugs, and we were against rock and roll, and I swear we were against sex too. We were against everything. And here's the funny thing. Everything we're against, and yet our mission was to whoop people. You know, it's kind of like, I'm at war with you, but how about you join my side? You know, I can't stand what you're doing, but Jesus loves you. I'm like, what? It's like everything got distorted. Because when this one thing is missing, then little things become big things, and big things become impossible things, and we can't get over anything in order to find ways to actually connect and love people. Now, I don't know what your particular story may happen to be, but it might be that you bailed out of church when you were younger because in the church or churches you were going to, there was just something missing. Especially when you hit a bump in the road. Like maybe you went through the trauma of divorce. And after divorce, it's like people in the church just looked at you differently. Or maybe you had a kid that went prodigal. And while everybody said, oh, we're praying for, your child, we're praying for your child, somehow you just knew when you walked in that you were being judged. Or maybe you lost a job and you were unemployed, or maybe you were a single parent. And if life was not hard enough and struggling enough, it's like they came into church and everybody said, whoa, what a cute little baby you had. But you know they looked at you differently. You know that somehow you were being marginalized. You could just feel it. Because something was missing.